What is good, everybody? Welcome into a Saturday edition of Coach and Company on Demand. I hope everybody's ready for a busy weekend coming off. Interesting, fascinating game last night. Tulane and Memphis. It's going to be a crazy run to the finish to see who that group of five team is going to be, but still several teams left in the mix. Today is going to be a big day in college football. Could be elimination for some, could be putting themselves behind the eight ball or taking a full step ahead. We've got key matchups of teams that absolutely are involved in the college football playoff now that the first rankings have come out. Joining me, as he does every single Saturday, is my guy from SureDog USA and now Coach and Company, Mikey P. And Mikey, we got several games we got to get into, and we got to start at noon. And I'm not always a super big fan of noon games in the central time zone like Texas, Oklahoma, those. But that's exactly what we have. It doesn't normally affect the energy, but sometimes teams take a little while to get going. This is pivotal because both of these teams right now in the Big 12 would be in the playoffs. Clearly, when the rankings come out, they can't assume anything. So, is this a knockout game to you, or is this whoever wins just takes a step forward?
It's a knockout game, and it was nice, BYU. It was a very nice story this year. But when David Bailey of the Texas Tech Red Raiders leads the nation in sacks, and then the guy right behind him with 11 and a half, and the guy right behind him has 6, and you're a true freshman, it's been a fantastic story for Bear Bachmeier and BYU. But I think Texas Tech rolls in this one, and you're going to start seeing ghost with that Red Raiders defense in this one.
I'll tell you what, the first 5 or 6 weeks, they won every single game by at least 24 points. And then they stubbed their toe in a game that was a little bit weird that they even lost. So they could be in a much better position than what they are right now. But let's be honest, ranked number 8 is not where Texas Tech thought they would be when the season started. So if my mentality as a Red Raider, I'm like, hey, listen, I don't care about the one loss. And can we please stop with the narrative as the best team that money could buy? They have a rich dude, just like Oregon does in Phil Knight. It's not something new. It's just different because it's Texas Tech. But this team can score. They can move the rock. And BYU is such a weird team. They beat Utah, who looks like a world beaters. And then they come out the next week and they struggle. So getting 10 feels like the right number. What do you think the final score potentially could be?
I think the big key here is, and this might be a game I stay away from because of that number, but Baron Morton of Texas Tech, he's been banged up all year. Their backup was just lost for the season with a torn ACL. Baron Morton has to make it through the game. Your defense can only carry you so much in the college football world. So if Morton can make it through, I like Texas Tech. I would like them to see, I could see them winning by 2 touchdowns or more, but I would be more comfortable with that if he could stay healthy throughout the game.
The Big 12 would like nothing more than to have at least 2 teams in the playoff because it looks like the Big 10 will have 3. Looks like the SEC will have 3. The Big 10 would love. What's shocking is that the ACC does not even have a team inside of the top 13, and they're a power 4. Clemson, what are we doing? Virginia, what are we doing? Come on, be better. But I mentioned the Big 10 and I mentioned the 3 teams. One of those with a bullet. Indiana is not only proving that they belong, they are taking certain brands and certain teams behind the woodshed and laying it down. UCLA came in on a winning streak, 56-6. Indiana and Mr. Signetti understand that people still don't respect them. People still don't think they're very good. So a win over Penn State, that could certainly do wonders for Indiana and the perception, even though Penn State this year has gone down a cliff and lost their head coach.
Yeah, this is Kurt Cignetti's world, and we're all living in it. This is the second straight year that Indiana has started 9-0. You know what I've loved over the course of this season, Coach? We started off going, is Indiana this good? Is Indiana this good? And we would break down the games on these Saturday mornings. Now we're at a point where we just go, how much fun is Indiana? We don't even look at the game. We just go, how much are they going to win by? The answer here, a lot. They're covering spreads by themselves. They're covering totals by themselves. Indiana continues to roll on a Penn State team that has had one of the worst back halves of the season after starting off 3-0. It's just been embarrassing for Penn State.
When you cover an over 53 by yourself against UCLA, that's next level. That's next level. Is this the lowest? Let's say in the last, because I'm not a super historian. I'm sure there's been other low points, but for Penn State, who's an OG school, and if you've ever been there, I always wondered why, how. It's in the middle of nowhere. The closest airport is Harrisburg, I might add, 2 hours from Pittsburgh. I don't know how they became a juggernaut, because I wouldn't want to travel and play in the middle of nowhere. But their stadium, when you get there, I had a famous race on the track at Penn State back in the day. That's a different story, different time. But you got over 100,000 fans that show up in white and in blue. How disappointed and frustrated is this fan base when you come off a trip to the playoffs? You think that you're going to be a top 5 team, which they were preseason, and then you lay an egg game after game after game.
It does come down to coaching. I historically, that's what made Penn State so great on the field. We don't need to talk about anything else. Joe Paterno built a legacy there. And in college football, legacy matters, at least for young players going to said university. So James Franklin had a culture. You know what that culture was, coach? We're going to be really good for about half of the season. We might even be good to get into the playoff, but then we're going to stink it up in every big time game against every big ranked opponent. And they had to move on. But it's so disappointing because Penn State has so much talent on their team, but it's not even going to come in comparison to what Indiana will do this afternoon.
His record against top 20 teams, abysmal. Absolutely abysmal. They have lost 5 games in a row. Since their bye week in week number 4, they don't have a dub. They don't have a dub. Oregon. Now, they did play Oregon at 6 points, but UCLA lost by 5, give it 42. Lose to Northwestern, lose to Iowa, get blown out by Ohio State. Thanks for coming, Penn State. And this week, it's going to be UGLY ugly against Indiana. Now let's go back to the SEC, because I think one of the biggest surprises as far as the top 4 teams that are in the bye situation would be Texas A&M. I don't think the Aggies, when you're talking Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, all these big Big 12 teams, I don't think they thought this would be the best one. Right now, they're arguably one of the best 2 if you throw in Alabama. They're laying 7 on the road at a very stingy Missouri squad. What do you make of this one?
I love Texas A&M in this spot. One thing we have to mention is Missouri's going to be without Bo Perbula, their starting quarterback. And when you have to now rely, you're going to become a one-dimensional team. It's going to go to Ahmad Hardy out of the backfield, one of the best running backs in the country. But for me, this now becomes one team is without their starting quarterback. The other starting quarterback on the other side, Marcel Reed of Texas A&M, he needs to kind of solidify his Heisman candidacy. And if you can do that against a Missouri defense that is tough, on the road, I love Texas A&M in this spot, and I love Marcel Reed to have a big game today as well.
This is a 3:30 game today, and they're coming off a 24-point win at LSU, and that was 2 weeks ago. And they are the reason Brian Kelly, well, they put the nail in the coffin of Brian Kelly. Let's just say that when they scored 49. But here are their point totals the last 4 weeks: 31, 34, 45, 49. What does that tell you? Their offense is getting better. And they also understand that in this new playoff, Mikey, you got to have some style points. And I would not be, if I was a head coach, I would not be going, you know what? These are SEC wins. That's all that matters. Well, what if you're trying to be that 4th team? What if you lose one and then they got to go back? To me, you've got to hammer and hammer and hammer no matter who. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Because these bye weeks in college football will matter. When we get to college football playoff time, we are going to be talking about the bye weeks more than anything in the opening round because it sets the stage and the narrative for 2 things. What of the top 4 teams, or who of the top 4 teams rather, is most prepared? Because we have seen these top seeded teams come into the college football playoff and get knocked off early. So you want to make sure that you can get healthy, you can get prepared, and you are set to truly show your dominance. And I think Texas A&M is right there. They have to show their dominance.
I know that Missouri has a good defense, but I think A&M jumps off to an early lead. And if that's the case, it's kind of like in soccer where the game opens up because it has to. I think the over could be in play here. I really, really do. Because if you're telling me that A&M is going to get to 34 minimum, Missouri is definitely going to get to 14 or 17. So I love the over in this one. Let's go back to the Big Ten. This is a fascinating one because everybody has slept this year on Iowa. They've got a different squad. They've got a quarterback that can play who came from a smaller D1 FCS South Dakota area and set all the records there. And then because of the stupid transfer portal 5, 6, 7, 10-year rule, he still had some eligibility left, and he's playing for Iowa. Oregon just beat Wisconsin 21-7. Didn't get to see a lot of the game. But if they get held to 21 the way they play, Dan Lanning, one of my favorite coaches in America, I'd be a little worried going to the Midwest, to the heartland, laying almost a full touchdown against a 6-2 Iowa team that is, I think, a lot better than people think they are.
They definitely are a lot better than what people think they are. And for me, on the Oregon Duck side, this comes down to Dante Moore. He's banged up, and you do not want your best player going on the road against a tough defense in a tough environment, banged up, especially when what you're known for throughout your program is a high powered offense. So I think Oregon's offense could be in trouble on the road in this one.
Think about this for people that don't follow every single team, and it's hard to, I get it. Before their bye on September 27th, they played Indiana to 5 points. They held Indiana to 20 points. Indiana laid the wood to Oregon in Oregon, if you want to compare opponents. Then after their bye week, Iowa shut out Wisconsin, a team that Oregon barely beat by 14. They beat them by 37. Penn State, they beat them. Minnesota last week, they beat them 41-3. I don't think Oregon wants to. To me, I think Iowa not only is the play in this game, I think they might be a live dog to win on the field in this game.
Do you know the beauty of that, coach? You know the
What's
beauty
that?
of that? When I look in the mirror and I go back and watch the tape, 8 straight weeks, the Mikey P upset special of the
Oh,
week has not lost. And so I said, how could I go for number 9? And then I looked at the game and I knew we were going to talk about it. So give me Iowa plus 6.5 versus Oregon. Very, very fun fact here. Iowa has defeated top 10 ranked teams at home 7 times since 2000. I know that's a 25-year span, but when you're not a top 10 team and they're coming into your home and you've knocked them off, it is not easy whatsoever. And that quarterback from Iowa that you're talking about, Mark, I always want to call him Gronkowski, but it's like without the end, it's like Gronkowski. It's the
yeah.
from Twitter. I love this kid. He can do it all. He can run, he can throw. And this Iowa team over their last 3 games, coach, we're talking Iowa football, not the first half of an Iowa men's basketball game. Caitlin Clark does not have shoulder pads on. They're averaging 34 points a game over their last 3 wins. Iowa's putting up points. I think they'll put up a lot of points in this one as well.
It's going to be it'll be fascinating if Oregon ends up not making the playoffs this year because of a loss to Indiana and Iowa. When it comes out of your mouth, you're like, man, how college football has changed. All right, our final one that we will focus on today is one of the great rivalries in all of football, college football. And this feels like a mismatch right now. LSU is literally licking their wounds. Brian Kelly is home nursing one of his latest 1927 bottles of Bordeaux as he watches his squad go to Tuscaloosa. Tuscaloosa has their vibe back. Their fan base shows up and they are raucous. They are loud. They understand they got themselves a squad and they're laying 10, total 48.5. And if there's one team that Kalen DeBoer, who's very classy, but he better understand there's still some people out there that don't believe in Alabama. If they have a chance to lay the wood in this one, they better lay the wood.
The worst thing about LSU was Brian Kelly, and that's coming from an LSU fan. I believe my official plays on this game, I'm taking the over 48.5, and I will take LSU plus the 10. I think LSU, when I could pair the two, James Franklin and Penn State and LSU, I think James Franklin had his team bought in. I don't think Brian Kelly ever had anyone believing in him or their chances moving forward. Now I think you cut the bad out, and I look at this Garrett Nussmeier led offense, Caden Durham at running back. I think they can keep it close, but I do think we will see a ton of points scored. I think LSU wants to play for some pride. That doesn't mean they have to win this game, but I think they'll make it closer than many expect.
It seems a lifetime ago that LSU was a preseason favorite to do some damage. That, man, this is going to be Brian Kelly's team. You know, that first week, can't win, can. And then all of a sudden, it just is one bad loss. And I think you're right. The common denominator here is Brian Kelly. And then all these stories come out about how he treats kids, how he treats recruits, how he treats in so it's obvious that sometimes people are scared to speak up because maybe they want to go play for him. When you have that much power in your head coach and you're making $10 million a year, nobody wants to hear from a recruit or a parent. But now all of them are chirping. And if Brian Kelly gets another big time job, I would be shocked. I would be shocked. He'll probably turn up like, there's been a couple other coaches who were big time that got in trouble, like Arkansas, and those guys have worked their way back up. I don't know that Brian Kelly can do that because Brian Kelly didn't have any infractions. He didn't do any, he wasn't, caught on a motorcycle with the secretary. He just was a bad coach. And I've been saying this since Notre Dame. And what was he? Wasn't it Cincinnati that he was that he made his mark before Notre Dame? Wasn't that Cincinnati?
Yes,
Um,
that's why our chat queen Kimberly despises him.
I just feel like he's an example, Mikey, of why so many of us and certainly coaches get frustrated because they all, same guy will get a multi-million-dollar job 2 or 3 times, and some assistant out there is going, just give me one opportunity. And Brian Kelly, I think the mood is shifting. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I think the best place for Brian Kelly, particularly because I want to hear his new accent, is Oklahoma State. It's a team with no expectations. It is a team that you still get relatively respect. This is a team that lost to Tulsa this year, coach. It can't get it. I mean, I think when they look back and they go, well, who could we hire to possibly beat Tulsa the next time we play them? I think Brian Kelly could at least do that. I mean, he'll be Oklahoma born and bred by the time he signs that contract, but I don't think he's going to get a big time opportunity anymore. And I wouldn't even want to see him go to one of these group of 5 because these are schools on the uprise. These are schools.
Mhm.
If a coach leaves a group of 5 and goes to a power 4, you can't replace that with Brian Kelly because you're going to bring the program all the way down. And props to LSU. They got rid of the AD. They got rid of Brian Kelly. They're completely changing the culture. I expect Alabama to win this game. And at parts, it may look easy for Alabama, but I expect LSU to put up a fighting chance.
Well, we will see. This game 7:30 p.m. But they're like the second latest start time of the ranked teams that are playing. The last game is Navy and Notre Dame. The only reason I bring that game up is Navy until last week they were undefeated in this group of 5. Then North Texas goes out and beats them 31-17. So if you're Navy, though, you look at the rest of their schedule, Mikey, they've got Notre Dame this week. If somehow they could pull off a miracle and beat Notre Dame in South Bend, wow. Because then they have South Florida, and then they have Memphis, and then the Army-Navy game. Navy, and I know this is an outside chance, if they went out, I think they would be the group of 5 representative in the college football playoff.
How awesome would that be? How awesome. I would absolutely, people would be like, wait, what is this offense? Like, what do they do here? So I would love to see it. I do give them, I'll say this, coach. I give Navy a better fighting chance against Notre Dame than I give LSU over Alabama. I think this game is fascinating. I can't wait to see. Notre Dame is a very well coached team. That doesn't mean they have the best players on the field at all times. Their defense has been better of late, but it's still suspect. So I think Notre Dame has the coaching advantage. I really want to see what happens on the field between these two teams.
Okay, well, you're going to be able to see it. I believe that's probably a Peacock or an NBC game on Saturday night. That probably Ian Eagle's son is calling that one too. God bless him and those genes. All right, that's going to do it for now. We'll be back live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time to break down the biggest games in the NFL for Week 10. Until then, for Mikey P, producer man, I am the coach. Thank you for supporting us here at the brand. This is Coach and Company. and we will see you tomorrow.